Greetings, everyone. This is the Insomniac GM, and today I want to tell you guys how my Marvel Phase Rip game ended up going. So, I did do a take of this already, but it got a little redundant. Keep saying the characters' names because some of them were kind of long and very similar. So I'm gonna just use alternative names when speaking about this. But so yeah, I just want to share. So this game was originally meant for me to run with, I think, 3 people, and it ended up turning into 5 people, which the more the merrier. So we ended up running it. Now, I will say I did record a video on how I planned on running the game, and I did keep to that, but I did make a few tweaks to it after I recorded it that I figured there was no point in stating it or re-recording when I'd tell you guys how it would go, and I'd probably change more, which I did. So I will go into that. But so yeah, when we ended up running the game, we spent some time building the characters together. So that's one of the reasons why my game probably seemed a little short when I was explaining it, but that's fine. So when we ended up making our characters, we had one character who was like, he had body armor. It was a lot harder to hurt him. He had a grappling hook and all that. I'm just going to call him Grappling Hook Dude. And then we had another person who could like control water. And I can't remember what else they did because that's the only thing that I remember. I'm recording this much later after that. But we'll call them Water Dude. And then we had a cyborg person who was into all these different sciences. They got a whole bunch of equipment. They were kind of like a Punisher meets Batman, but with weaponry. So they had all these different weapons at their disposal. We had another player. He told me he was going to be late, so I asked for permission to make his character for him, and he agreed, and he ended up becoming one of the first ones there. And he got a good laugh out of the character I made for him. We all used random tables, by the way. Everything he had, he was pretty much Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, so I'll just call him Stitch. We also had one player who was so excited to play. He rolled up an alien, and his abilities were like he could shock people, and he had a tail, and his character was all into like the arts, and like he rolled where he was rich and all that. So we had a pretty different group. It was really interesting. So we ended up playing. Now, one thing I didn't mention in the video too, because I like to think about it ahead of time, is I use props in my game. I try to create a atmosphere for the game, which that's another thing I do. So the prop I ended up getting for everyone is I bought a bunch of superhero masks and capes for everyone. So we all ended up wearing them while playing. And I also took a speaker, and I always play music when I'm running a game. And I make sure I keep the speaker by me, so if I can't hear over the speaker, I know it's too loud. So I started off the game playing We Need a Hero, which everyone got a blast out of that. But after that, I played a lot of music from the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. But now to the actual game. So when we ended up playing, our characters were all at a laundromat doing their laundry and that. And I explained that their costumes were already in the washing machine and that. And all of a sudden Scarecrow comes by and he starts causing a commotion, him and his goons. So I asked the players, what do you guys improv for a costume? So I got some really creative, funny answers. And the players, some of them would come up with an idea, and after hearing everyone else was like, oh, wait, no, I got a better one I want to do now. Like, that was pretty fun. The only one that really stands out to me, like, remembering wise, because this has been a week now since I've ran it, was I had a player who said that there was a mascot costume for filing your taxes or whatever, and they just ended up wearing that while fighting crime. I just briefly, somebody else said like they ended up taking like the pants of the Incredible Hulk and wore that or something. So players ran out, they saw this commotion, they saw cars hitting into each other and whatnot, because Scarecrow and his goons were firing off in the air, just trying to cause like a commotion. So the group took care of the criminals while Spider-Man's trying to save people from like fire, gas spreading and whatnot. So they defeat some of the goons, and Scarecrow ends up surrendering very shortly after the fight starts. Now, after that, Spider-Man had to leave, and they started probing Scarecrow for questions. So they started talking things out as a team, trying to figure out what answers they wanted, what questions to ask, and whatnot. One of the players was able to dig into his mind. So I didn't have to have Spider-Man tell too much to them, and I didn't have to straight out tell the players what Scarecrow needed. I let them earn that. So they got that information that it was Grizzly and someone else. So they send Scarecrow and his goons to jail, and the police take them, they drive off. So then they start trying to find Grizzly. Well, they learn that Jameson hires Boomerang to end up being his bodyguard. Now, I did change it to keeping it at the Daily Bugle, because I started thinking about it, and I'm like, how are they going to get the jump on Spider-Man like that? And I decided probably when he's Peter Parker. So Peter was at the Daily Bugle when it was attacked by Boomerang. So the players end up contacting Jameson before the attack and tell Jameson, like, listen, we got a scoop. This is Spider-Man's fault, to get him to go with a plan, and told him to make an announcement. So they were planning on using I think it was Grappling Hook, who had the skill to end up redirecting the IP address or whatever of where he is. And in the video, Boomerang attacks Jameson, knocking him out, and tells Spider-Man on the camera, hey, come get me. Well, Boomerang ends up attacking Peter Parker because he has information on where Spider-Man is, because he takes pictures of him. Well, the players all start scurrying, trying to get about. Well, Stitch ends up using a super speed to run to the Daily Bugle, while Alien Dude creates wings, flies away, while Grappling Hook is holding on to him. And then our robot friend starts using his sonic powers to blast himself forward. And then finally, Water Dude called an Uber. We waited for the Uber. So we end up getting to the Daily Bugle. And Stitch ends up running through the building, and he tries to sneak around, and he fails at sneaking. And how I went about having him fail at sneaking is one of the hostages in the Daily Bugle sees him and yells out that there's a superhero, they're all saved and all that, which everyone face palmed so bad. And I had Boomerang tell him, like, hey, stay where you are. I got explosives ready. And he was holding a remote detonator. Now, I didn't expect that to go off, but but Stitch, he also used boomerangs and was fighting boomerangs, so I found that funny. Ended up trying to attack the detonator out of his hand and failed. So I had it go off. Now at this point, everyone's like inside the building. They're all on different floors from different speeds and whatnot. And one thing I should mention is Grizzly ends up attacking the police cars, freeing Scarecrow and his goons. And they're on their way to Jameson's place before the players are. Well, at this point, they're going up the elevator to meet up with Boomerang and that, and Grappling Hook just presses the elevator button and is like, oh yeah, he's going to meet us on our turf, which got a good collective laugh. And at this point, Boomerang's detonator goes off. The building starts falling apart. And I didn't want the building just to collapse on everyone, killing all these civilians. I didn't want to punish the player for a bad roll, but I did want to create drama and tension. So I explained to them, just like in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, when Spider-Man's spider senses are going off, where you see the fly buzzing around real slow in that. I said that's kind of what the fight is like. The building is falling apart around you, but your guys' reflex are so fast that you guys are fighting so fast. We are experiencing it in slow motion while the combat's actually taking place super fast. So the building starts collapsing, and Water Dude and the Cyborg guy come running out. And Boomerang and Stitch are fist fighting as they're on this chunk of the floor, just breaking through from floor to floor as Grappling Hook Dude and Alien Dude are fighting Scarecrow and Grizzly. And as they're fighting, Grizzly and Boomerang both have body armor, so they just keep hitting each other and not hurting each other. So what ends up changing with that is they decide to switch places, and they're both able to defeat their target. Grizzly doesn't go down so easily. I'll get to Boomerang first. So Boomerang ended up going down with Stitch. Stitch took him down. He ended up doing this whole thing where he picked him up, threw him up in the air, and when he came rolling down, he smacked him down into his gut so hard and broke him through like the rock and that. Water Dude comes up and uses his water power because a storm's going on during this time, shooting the water through the glass to grab onto everyone, like all the unconscious people and the hostages, and pulls them out of the open windows now. And then Scarecrow ends up getting like, I forgot how he went down. Oh, he ended up getting smacked by a Grappling Hook Dude with the blunt end of his sword hard enough to knock the wind out of him. And then when it came to Grizzly, Grappling Hook Dude grabbed Grizzly, shot the grappling hook at a building over, and shot themselves outside, slamming him into a building. And everyone was like all happy about it, and that they, it's just Grizzly left. They almost have him beat. And Cyborg Dude goes, I go up and I just shoot him. And everyone face palms. So he tells me he wants to kill Grizzly, and I'm like, okay, roll. And he succeeds. So he ends up killing Grizzly. After that, we cut into the future where they're back at the dry cleaner and they're finishing cleaning up their clothes and that. And Nick Fury comes in. He wants to talk to him. And we end it there. And everyone had a blast with the game. In fact, I've had one of the players, like the main reason I ran this game was for one player who wants to use it for a campaign he wanted to run, and I pitched it to him, and he's now going to run a campaign using this. And I'm gonna end up running a game with this. It's not gonna be a weekly game or anything. Like, we're talking like once every 2 months, or once every other month, I'm sorry. But yeah, the game went great though. And it seemed like everyone was like looking into the game after that. So, but I just wanted to give you guys all an update on the game. And yeah, that's all. Take care, everyone.